Welcome back to Portfolio Players, presented by E-Trade from Morgan Stanley. I'm Dan Roberts here at FOS in New York, and today we've got Ted Leonsis, the CEO of Monumental Sports and Entertainment. Ted, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Great to have you in. I mean, we've talked to a number of part owners of teams as part of this series, but here's someone who owns a WNBA franchise, an NBA franchise, NHL. Let's start with the NBA. There was a time when the Wizards, after having a tough season, I think second worst record in the league, would have been basically guaranteed a top draft spot. The lottery happened the way it did. You ended up with the number 6 spot. What do you make of the kind of flattening of the NBA draft lottery?
You play the cards you're dealt, and we knew what we had going in. I don't understand, though, when people say you don't have a high pick. We're picking 6th. There's been a lot of great players that have been picked 6th. We also have the 18th pick in the draft. So we're going to have 2 first-round picks in our lineup. We're 3 picks that we made last year, and then we brought in another pick in a trade. So we'll have 4 players that were drafted in the first round last year and 2 this year, and we had a good pick the year before. So we have one of the youngest teams in the league. We weren't tanking, we were developing players. That's a little different than maybe what some of the other team strategy was. We can't internally, culturally think, we lost because we're picking 6. We have to be great executives, great scouts, and I think our team with our new president of Monumental Basketball and our GM will be fine.
We had a lot of kind of media discussion and scrutiny around the NBA ratings this season. A lot was made about the dip, maybe first half of the season. Now, as we talk today in the playoffs, the ratings have been up about 6 or 7%. And in the end, the regular season ratings were down just 2%, which people don't talk about this, but NFL saw the same dip, 2% for the regular season. What did you make of all that, the discussion around whether the NBA had any issues to fix, whether it was about the product on the court and the gameplay, the style of gameplay, or is it just a broader secular trend with live sports ratings?
Well, first, one of the great sayings in sports is no one knows nothing. And I'm convinced that there's a lot of writing, a lot of analysis, instant analysis that isn't very thoughtful and mindful. So obviously I've been head of the media committee for the NBA, the last deal and this deal. And so you witness firsthand the vigor and excitement of the biggest, most sophisticated media and now technology companies that won our programming. And they won our programming because of the level of engagement. You get little tidbits of, hey, did you know the NBA was the most searched on term and phrase in Google for the last half dozen years, worldwide. You do analysis and it's 1 million people around the world. There's 8 billion, 9 billion people around the world. 1 billion of them say, we love basketball. It's the second most popular sport. It's why we want to be international. It's why the big media companies, they look and they say, it's 350 million people in America. That's who we're serving. The technology companies have billions of customers. They're all global. You look, NBA Europe, that's being talked about, NBA Africa, fastest growing demography, youngest people on the planet in Africa, and NBA China. We're acting like we're the most valuable sports brand. And so on ratings, cable is down, and 25 years ago, cable, it grew by having sports. And we see what's happening in cable locally with the RSNs. I own an RSN. It's healthy in comparison, but nationally now, it's digitize or die. And so the streamers, they all want our programming to help launch their brands. Peacock, NBC, they want to get subscribers. They announced yesterday Michael Jordan is going to be one of the on-air talents. I mean, that was I called it modern nostalgia.
Former Wizard.
Yeah, former Wizard. And so ratings are important, but I don't think we've nailed engagement. And we look at this world as being this blended platform business. You've got digital, you've got social, you've got streaming, you've got RSN, you've got national, now you're going to have global. And so when you just look at the amount of engagement, the sponsors, the advertisers, young people love watching highlights, watching games digitally on their phone. And there's still half the country, I think in our market, we've gone from 8 million subscribers to cable to 5 million subscribers to cable. And while it's shrinking, there's still, a big market. Now it's our job. How do we get this next generation that will never subscribe to cable to get OTT services, or we package up with Netflix or with Apple? So it's an exciting time, and I think that we can still grow it. And I think just the concept of pure ratings, I don't know if that's going to be as important as a differentiator in the go forward.
Yeah, and you still have to serve the people who are on cable. You can't abandon even if a certain audience is shrinking. You bring up two really salient points there, which is international expansion for the NBA, and also the rise of streamers and tech giants crowding in. The new NBA deal, Amazon is in the room instead of TNT. I know, of course, you don't own an NFL franchise, but if you look at the NFL, you're seeing the exact same thing. The NFL is parceling out more of its games to streamers only. You've got games on Netflix, games on Peacock, and then, of course, internationally, the NFL is really pushing its international expansion. Is this just where the puck is headed for all of the big American sports leagues that, I don't want to say they're fully saturated in the States, but they're close to a certain point, and the next frontier is the streamers, and it's got to be global?
Yeah, but I think it's the tapestry that you weave that will differentiate things. NBC wanted the games for the NBC network and for Peacock. And so, we want to get exposure to as many households as possible. NHL, NBA, WNBA, that's what the fight is. How do you make sure that you're available, you have ubiquity, and in a format, so you have to invest in different kinds of programming. You have to be a digital-first company. We've invested $30-40 million when we bought our RSN. We might be the only RSN, by the way, out there without any debt, right? So, the business wasn't as bad as the business model, because a lot of these companies like Sinclair, and they had to lever up to buy the asset. We don't have any debt on our network. So we were able to say, let's pay the teams. We own the network. We'll pay the teams top dollar, and we'll invest to make sure that we have a digital platform, 4K, can go to 8K. That's what I think teams are going to have to do. They have to look at themselves as being in the IP business, the fan engagement business, the platform business. We own venues, we own distribution, we own the IP. That's a lot different than 25 years ago, which is when I came into the league. Is, you own a hockey team. No, I don't just own a hockey team. We see this as a multi-dimensional digital content company. And at the end of the day, you want to build that as a big business so that you can reinvest to win championships. This is the most binary, most public of companies. We're all private companies, but we might as well be public companies. We have annual meetings every game. We had a fantastic season with our hockey team, and we first in the East, second best record. Alex Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's record. We lose our first playoff game in the second round, and we're booed. It's like,
yeah. Okay. That's how it goes.
Well, that's the transparency. It's what have you done for us lately? So if you're not in the business in sports, we have to build a big business. We have to be innovators. We have to have deep fan engagement so that we can take those revenues and give a lot of it to our partners who are the players. You constantly have to have that virtuous cycle going, because nothing brings a city fan base closer together than winning sports teams. And when you win a championship, you get that immortality. It really carries over to the business, and it reinforces each side of the franchise.
You mentioned that you guys own the local sports network, and of course you also own the venue. Not every team does, and I think a lot of owners have realized that's how you add value now, is real estate in and around where the team plays.
We're going from 900,000 feet to 1,600,000 feet. And,
yeah, a lot of construction for you guys recently.
And it's for the players and the coaches and the fans and the sponsors and the neighbors and the tourists that come in. I mean, the central role that your venue plays in your city is unbelievable. We helped the new administration when it came in. Weather was bad. They had the inaugural. And around the world, we were being referenced by news media as the world's most important arena in the world's most important city. And the president mentioned us 4 times, and we had an agency do some of the work, and it was $1.7 billion of mentions and billions of impressions. Well, we're a small business. And when you think about it, to have that kind of reverberation around the world, it shows you like what MSG, Madison Square Garden, what Capital One Arena, the importance of our venue. But when you can amplify the experience of 20,000 people coming to a game, and then you own the network, and you own the social part of it. So DC is supposed to be a politically driven, it's all about politics. On a good night, CNN, they'll get less than a 1 rating. And on a good night, we'll get a 4 or 5 rating. We aggregate our fan base. We get ratings higher than all of the MSNBC, CNN, Newsmax, Fox together in a city that's supposed to be political. It's because sports, we're writing the script every day. Every game is different. It's the ultimate reality programming. And we are the convener. That's why the sponsors value us. That's why the media companies value us. That's why the tech companies are valuing us. They understand to get 3 hours of someone's time, deep engagement, what else does that? Today I was reading the Wall Street Journal, and there's 2 lead articles on sports, sports and real estate, right? And technology.
Well, this is why we're talking about this, right? I mean, it's everywhere. It's the nexus of everything. It's really interesting. I want to stick on that, because you bring up hosting the inauguration at the arena. I mean, in many ways, you say sports unites people, but also I think sports has in some ways become more political than ever, or at least people try and attach the politics to it. You've got a current president who is probably the most sports-attuned president there's ever been. I mean, has spent a lot of time going to sports events, right?
Obama used our arena. Obama would play basketball with us. I wrote a letter to President Trump for the 2nd term and said, I'm not red, I'm not blue, I'm red, white, and blue. And just like I've been in service to all the other presidents, what can I do for you? Our building happens to be located blocks from the White House, blocks from the Senate. And he said, the weather's not going to be great, and can we hold the parade and a part of the inauguration events at the building?
Since you asked,
Yeah, and we said, yes, of course we could do that. And now, how would you say no to that? You can't, right? You can't be in service to the country and say no. Now, the networks, the feedback we've gotten was, it was so much easier to show the inaugural event in a building where we just plugged and played. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, all of a sudden this is an indoor sport. Who wants to be middle of January, freezing rain? We had a president who died, right? He was at the exposure of the elements, and he got pneumonia and he died. And so the production value in the building, and it just continued our iconography. If you just look at big cities, universities, the defining business community, obviously we have the federal government, Georgetown University, we've got 8 major research universities, public space, we've got them all. New York has Central Park, right? I mean, there are very few defining parts of the iconography of a major metro area, and sports in our venues play a central role.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that own the venue and don't, got to ask you about the Celtics sale. we're talking about a $6 billion price tag reportedly when it's all said and done, maybe up to $7 billion for a team that doesn't own the stadium it plays in. And I think a lot of people look at that and wonder, are these valuations just limitless, or is there a ceiling here?
Well, my teams aren't for sale, but I'm rooting for them to get the highest valuation possible. It's a gem of a property. My organization does more revenues than the Celtics. Now I own a basketball team, a hockey team, a women's team, the building, the network. I think that's the trend. I think you'll see lots of mergers on the go forward. You have to get scale. If you're going to be a media company, you have to build the audience. You have to be able to build a way to cross-promote and year-round. That's why all these real estate areas are popping up. Hey, we're going to bring people in. Can they spend a couple hours beforehand, after the game? And so we're running these as really, really big businesses. And as private equity has come in, we were the first organization to bring in a sovereign wealth fund to invest in our company. They take a long-term view of things. They've invested hundreds of billions of dollars in Manhattan, hundreds of billions of dollars in London. DC is a safe investment. So they look at us and they say, you have sports, entertainment, real estate, media. This is the kind of business we want to invest in. And it's in an industry where this is our 50th anniversary for the Capitals. We're considered a new team. Right. I was president of America Online. We were once the 6th most valuable company in the planet. Doesn't exist anymore, right? So my point is that the NBA, the NHL, these buildings, they represent longevity. They're safe investments. And we can prove organically what our intrinsic growth has been. We've had great growth. We're in a big market. We're good operators. We own multiple teams. We have an expansion mindset. I'd like to acquire other teams, put them on the platform, but make them more competitive too. Because the more scale you have, the more cash that you're generating, the more you can allocate to invest back into the teams. And so, I think there's a new way of looking at these as an asset or an asset class. But at the end of the day, what the fans care about is, are you going to have good teams? You're going to have winning teams. And, I'm 2 for 3 there. We've had, for 25 years, a great record in hockey. And WNBA, we've won championships, we've gone to the finals, we've made the playoffs the most, or one of the most in the league since I've owned the teams. It's the NBA that I'm still having a hard time breaking that code. But we're very committed to doing that, and we're going to do it the right way through the draft. And the ultimate prize for us and goal is, could we win a championship in the NBA, the NHL, and the WNBA in the same year? That would be, and you go, well, the playoffs right now, we've been in the Caps playoffs and the Wizards in the playoffs at the same time. The building, the city is jumping because you're having the programming. And the WNBA season starts on Friday, right? So, we are constantly looking at how we fill the building, how we're making the investments, but we could have all 3 teams playing at the exact same time.
You mentioned the success you've had with the Capitals, and obviously this past year, the Ovechkin record and the chase there. Interesting year for the NHL. Again, here we are talking about ratings, and maybe too much is made of ratings, but the league saw like a 7% ratings dip for the regular season. However, of course, the biggest moment of the whole year was the Four Nations, arguably, in USA, Canada, something like the most or second most watched hockey game in the US ever for that second USA-Canada game. How do you look at the future for this league and what the NHL needs to do to create moments like that?
Well, the chase was pretty good. The game that he broke the record, I think there were 800 million views of the winning goal, of the goal that broke the record. We're global sports. The NBA, the NHL are intrinsically global sports. And I think that's a key that if you can connect with people all around the world, your engagement, your reach will be bigger, and can you be relevant to young people? And when I first came in and bought 100% of the Caps 25 years ago, I said, this is a video game. This is a video game come to life, right? And I compare it to the big daddy right now, which is football. I find football boring. I know that's heresy. Well, there's 12 minutes of action in an actual game, okay? And you watch, and then you get something to eat, and you go to a baseball game. It's not too dissimilar. It's a pitch, and then you talk to the person next to you. You go to a hockey game, you can't talk to someone next to you. You're watching the game. The shifts are 30 seconds long. Those players for those 30 seconds are exerting 110%. And that is very in keeping with the real-time world. Faster, better, cheaper. And so my bet was that indoor sports, where you can control the environment, you could invest in technology, you could do really interesting things with music and with audio and interactivity, that was where the growth would come. And certainly the NHL is growing really, really fast. The NBA is growing really, really fast. And it has a lot of tailwinds pushing it forward. And I think the NHL is very, very well positioned for a lot of another decade or so of big growth.
You mentioned wanting to add teams to the portfolio, which I appreciate. I mean, just saying outright we'd like to own more teams. I think it's relatively well known you guys would love to own the Nats, fair to say, and maybe the Learners sell at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles, the Orioles I was interested in too, and they were bought by a friend, David Rubenstein. He's got great backers, but that's a small market. Who knows what happens in 5 years, 10 years? Maybe that becomes a part of us, right? That there's a set of mergers, because I think you're going to have to see either real mergers or virtual mergers. How can you get cell subscriptions year-round? ESPN announced yesterday, ESPN. I thought that was great. Ta-da, all the drama. It's going to be called ESPN. $29 a month, 46,000 hours of programming. Well, we own a lot of teams, but it's 82 games for basketball, for hockey, 40 games now for WNBA, but it's not year-round. You're starting to see in New York a virtual merger of subscription product, not all under one ownership. Well, that's really smart, right? Because you don't want to spend a lot of money to acquire a customer or subscriber, and then your season ends, you don't make the playoffs in April, and they cancel, right? You want to be able to get, and really expensive. And so as you have to go more direct to consumer, and we've got the data. RSNs, by the way, the dirty little secret, I'd ask Comcast, NBC owned our network before, who's our customer? And they'd say, men. Go, okay, give me more. And they'd throw out ages. I'd say, I got to call BS on that because young people aren't signing up to cable. Well, they were enjoined by Congress to not be able to share data with the cable company. They didn't know who their customers were. We, on the other hand, have a database now of like 4 or 5 million people in our database. And anyone who's bought a ticket, season ticket, been part of a group, bought merchandise in the building. Many of them, it's one account, but 4 people. Oh, there's a secondary market. We mine that data like you can't believe. And so when we get into the subscription business in a bigger way, you need to have that data. The cable companies weren't investing in data, in AI. We making big investments in AI. We built the most advanced local digital network studio. We have to make those investments. We have to, if you're a tech company, Steve Ballmer and I a couple of years ago were talking about this at NBA Tech Day. We don't have R&D budgets. We came from businesses where you were R&D engineering driven, And you come to sports teams, and there's no R&D. You were reliant on third parties. So we said, that's not the way that you future-proof your organization. So we're spending money not only on salaries for the players and for infrastructure in the venues, but what kind of investments can we make in technology and platforms to better the business, but also to increase fan engagement, to increase players and their health and the like. And so these are real big, sophisticated businesses, and our valuations are proving that out.
So bundling the media or the streaming or the app with other teams that you don't own, that's interesting. To go back to the franchises, it sounds like maybe, there's a possibility that you'd buy a team not in your current area geographically.
I want to be authentic. And, I looked at, it was very in to go to Europe and look at soccer teams.
I was going to ask, everyone right now wants to just own a soccer team.
And I looked, and there was a rumor, a leak, and I said, I didn't play the game. How many games am I going to go to? The team we were looking at was outside of London, and the fans are going to hate me, right? And I won't have any authority, if you will, in that I go to all of the games. I grew up watching the games. I know the history of the teams, and I think fans and media can smell BS. And if you're doing sports for the money, for the business side of it, this isn't the place for you, because you have to have a thick skin, and you have to be able to go. I went to the barbershop the other day to get my beard trimmed, probably too short. And when I walked outside, they were, can I take a selfie? That was good. The other, why do you guys stink year after year? I mean, and you have to be in the fan base. You have to be a part of that and intrinsically get the mood, get the, what's happening in the city. And so I think this roll-up strategy where it's not a platform, you're just buying things and you're kind of helicopter parent, might work for other people. It's not going to work for me. But I would buy the Nationals or the Orioles or DC United and put them onto one platform, put them on one network, have one big data set, have one CFO, have one HR department, right? I mean, that's what media and tech companies do. Microsoft has made hundreds and hundreds of acquisitions. Google has made hundreds and hundreds of acquisitions, all on one platform. And so that's the culture and the strategy on the business side that we want. But on the team side, it's really, really authentically focused on NBA and Wizards. There's no, the same trainer for the Capitals isn't taking care of the basketball player. And so you have to develop those operating chops to know what should be integrated on the platform and what should be incredibly endemically just focused on the team and the players and the brand.
You didn't mention NFL in there. Is owning an NFL team the ultimate for every team owner in sports?
I mean, I could have bid on the Redskins when they were up, and Dan Snyder beat me to it, if you will. I used to say a couple of years ago, well, I don't know if I could have afforded it, but my asset, our asset, I bet you one of the reports will come out and say Monumental Sports is valued at $7+ billion. Well, that's what NFL teams are going for. Now it's a team versus all these assets. We bring 3 million people into our venue. A football team plays 8 games, 9 games, 10 games at 50,000, 60,000. Like, when you look, don't sell short these conglomerates that own an NBA, WNBA. Now, we're few and far between. Toronto, they own the baseball team, the hockey team, the basketball team, the building and the network. Rogers Communications, Larry Tannenbaum. Denver, right? Now, that family also bought the team in LA, the football team in LA, but it's not on that same platform. And MSG, but MSG now is 3 different public companies, right? There aren't many public companies. The other one's Liberty Media. But we're a pure play. We're in a big market. We have a fidelity in our strategy. We have one platform, and we're growing double digit. We're doing it right. But until we win more championships, you'd say, no, you're losers. That's the thing in sports that's amazing. We're having the best years from a business standpoint, but we haven't won a ring since 2019, and we feel like we have to reinvest to get back to that championship.
Well, as you
level.
said, you have to take those slings and arrows. Ted, this has been so great. Such a great conversation. Really quick, let's end on this. You know, you talk about the emotion of owning a sports team, and that if you're getting into it just for the business and the money, you better be ready to be criticized. I mean, right now, though, more than ever, we're seeing everyone wants to own a piece of a sports team. Not just in the big U.S. leagues. I mean, we talked about soccer. Every celebrity, every athlete. Real quick, why now? What do you think is happening right now that's causing that?
Well, it's the only segment of business that seems to be accreting value, and it's got the left brain, right brain thing going for it. Like, you want to be competitive. You want to. When you win, there's no drug, there's no alcohol, there's nothing you can take that's more addictive than winning. I mean that. I can't explain to you the dopamine that you feel when you're winning a playoff game. But the flip side of it, and people who get in, they haven't felt that yet. You lose a game 7 in overtime, it's like death, okay? And there's people that aren't cut out for that you have to now, we got a game 2 days from now. We have to go back at it. We didn't meet expectations. We're gonna have 5 months of criticism, and what are you gonna do about it? There was a draft in the NBA. We didn't have a very good season. We were developing our players. We won 18 games, and we're picking 6th. In any other world, that's great. We're gonna get a great player. Larry Bird was the 6th pick in the draft for Red Auerbach. We're losers. You didn't get the first pick in the draft. There's no other business where you go, oh my gosh, let's push back for a second. We're gonna get a really, really good player with the 6th pick in the draft. And so it's such a unique business. It's so covered by the media. The technology companies are all over this, and it's sexy, but a conservatively strong business that has we look like a SaaS, software as service business. 80% of our revenues are replicatable. They're under long-term contract. Our variable season tickets, 80% is what we renew in a bad year. Good years, we're 95, 100% renewals, right? And then they resell the tickets at a higher price for the season tickets. And so it's a unique and great and popular business, and there's a minimum on it, right? It's we're the only basketball team and hockey team in Washington, D.C. The only, and that gives it this this desire, and that's why you're seeing new leagues start. It's like, hey, I want to buy a sports team. MLS is way up in value because you can't afford, or there were no basketball teams or hockey teams to buy. So it's like, I want to buy a professional team. You know, is a soccer team really should be valued at 15 or 20 times multiple? No, but you want one? That's what you're going to have to pay. And so I think we're situated in a very unique and powerful position. But with that power and position, you've got to be really socially responsible with it. And I think we're doing our best in Washington, D.C.
It's a great answer. Ted, thanks so much. Great conversation.
Good to see you.